How do you let go of resentment and truly forgive someone? I want to forgive so much, but I can't. I've made progress, but it's not where I want to be. So, when it comes to forgiveness, this is a topic that's really heavily present in spirituality, but sometimes we don't go about it the right way. So, forgiveness, a lot of times, what I feel is that forgiveness is almost, in a lot of spirituality circles, it's seen as a kind of an obligation, something that you have to do in order to be more spiritual. And if you can't forgive, you're not spiritual enough. And I think this is a really big mistake, because what ends up happening is that people will many times push themselves to forgive, and then they feel like total failures because they're clearly not able to do it, or they don't feel capable of doing it, and then they think they're failing at something. All right. So, and I can kind of sense this in the energy of kind of feeling like a failure, feeling super self-critical. I can feel that in this question that this audience member submitted. So let's kind of clean up the energy around this a little bit. All right. Let's take a step back. And let's just forget forgiveness altogether, okay? Let's just forget the word forgiveness altogether, forget the need to forgive, forget the obligation to forgive. Let's just leave that to the side. And let's start with an important piece of this question, which is the persons that I really want to forgive, but I can't, okay? Let's start with words. So words are so important in the co-creation of your reality. The moment that you say, I can do something, and so it is, the moment you say, I can't do something, and so it is. Okay. So the way that I like to break up the energy and clean up the energy around this is to say, if you're struggling with forgiveness, if you're struggling with it, just start loosening up the energy around those words. So instead of saying, I really want to forgive, but I can't, you see the energy is really shut down in this kind of affirmation. Instead of saying it that way, you can say something like, it's been really hard for me to forgive, but I'm ready to learn. You see how the energy opens up immediately when I say that? It's been hard, so I'm alluding to the past. It's been hard, but I'm willing to learn. It means that you're willing to move forward with a different energy. You see how this affirmation is more uplifting, it's open, and it's expansive versus saying, I can't do something, which shuts down your energy, okay? So we started with words. That's an important place to start. And then let's just set forgiveness to the side, okay? And this is probably the most important answer to this question, is realizing. I'm going to give you a mantra. This is a mantra that I've used before, but it's so important. This is a really important mantra. You may want to write this down so you can work with this. And that is that forgiveness isn't actually something that you need to do. Okay, forgiveness is a natural byproduct of healing. Okay, another way of saying this, so let me say that sentence again. Forgiveness is a natural byproduct of healing. So let's flip that and say it a different way. It means that when I heal, I will automatically forgive without any effort, without needing to dedicate any time to it, without needing to do a 10-step process. I won't need to do anything. It's a natural byproduct. It's something that happens naturally when I heal, okay? If I am not healed around that specific topic, I cannot forgive very easily, because healing is the foundation by which forgiveness occurs. Okay. And so this is why a lot of times people push themselves into forgiveness and then they feel like failures because they can't seem to forgive. And it's because they're starting off on the wrong foot. They're pushing for forgiveness when the healing hasn't been done. And so if the healing hasn't been done, forgiveness is going to be almost an impossible task, right? So take a step back, put forgiveness to the side, and just say to yourself, I may or may not forgive this person, and that's okay. I'm not going to deal with it right now. I don't have to address forgiveness right now, but I do have to address healing. Okay. So who am I trying to forgive? I'm trying to forgive this person. I'm trying to forgive Joe because he really hurt me. And so I'm trying to focus on forgiving him. Okay. Let's let's just put forgiveness to the side and let's instead think, how can I heal what happened between Joe and I? How can I heal from that? What pain is left over that I haven't healed? What pain is left over that I haven't addressed? What emotions are left over that I have not processed through? What events happened between the two of us that I haven't gone into full healing with, okay? And this is where a journal comes in handy. I love to journal a lot through these processes. So what between you and Joe, and I'm just using an imaginary person here, but what between you and that other person has not been healed? And when I mean healed, let me go a little bit further into this. Healed to me means, in this circumstance, healed means addressed, okay, faced, processed. These are different words that I'm giving for the word heal, okay? So what have I not processed between myself and that person? What have I not faced between myself and that person? Okay, what issues have I not addressed between me and that person? And start journaling about this. The more you start going into healing, into processing emotions, into sitting with the emotions, to sitting with the emotional content that was triggered between your interaction with the other person, the more you go into healing, what you're going to notice is that at the end of this healing process, and you can do this healing with the person. So if the person is in your life and you feel like you can have difficult conversations or you can heal together, that's one thing. If the person isn't in your life, you're going to have to do the healing just yourself on your end without the other person being involved. You can do it either way depending on your circumstance. But at the end of the day, you have to remember that the emotional content has to be addressed. The events that transpired between you, they have to be addressed and processed, and lessons learned from those processes. But more than lessons learned, it's just a question of being able to address and sit with the pain, maybe any suffering, hurt, betrayal, grief, any kind of heavy emotion that still exists between you and that person related to whatever events transpired between you. When you process this, when you work with this energy, when you learn how to sit with these emotions, when you journal through them, you'll start to notice that your energy becomes lighter in relationship to that person. And as your energy becomes lighter, one day or another, you're going to notice that you've already forgiven them and you haven't done anything. You haven't done any forgiveness work per se. And it's because you've done such a great job at healing the situation between you and that person that forgiveness just came naturally. Okay, so that's how I see forgiveness. It doesn't necessarily have to be true for everyone, but that's how I see forgiveness. Forgiveness is very effortless when the work of healing has been done prior. Okay, so take your focus off of forgiveness and put it on healing, whatever needs to be healed about that subject or about that person, and then you'll notice that forgiveness comes naturally.